Everyone, and thank you, Jenny. That was overly generous. Thank you so much. Usually when we gather, it's been with such a heaviness in our hearts. So isn't it beautiful to be at a Jewish event tonight with lightness and hope and optimism? It's something we haven't had for 2 years. I think back to right after October 7, and we were all distraught at what was happening in Israel, and then profoundly shocked at the anti-Semitism arising here in Australia. And immediately I went out on a limb on air, night after night, and I fought against both the terrorism and the anti-Semitism in such a strong way, but privately I felt a bit of uncertainty, and I didn't know how it was being received in the wider Australian community or even among my colleagues in the media industry. And I was carrying that private uncertainty with me until one day I received an email from Sarah, and it left me in no doubt that she was an unwavering supporter of our Jewish community. So much so that Sarah took the initiative to organise a private gathering that she hosted alongside Lachlan for non-Jewish leaders in business, the media, and education. With strength, warmth, and empathy, they opened their arms and their home. The focus was anti-Semitism, and it was encouraging the pillars of the community to take action. It was trying to nip a problem in the bud just as it arose. Imagine if politicians, law enforcement, or university chancellors had been wise enough to take the same approach as Sarah. Our lives over the past 2 years, and in fact, the very nature of our country, might have been very different. Even now, it's my view that there are too few in public life, both within our Jewish community, let alone outside of it, who have the courage to speak out against this scourge. Sarah Murdoch is an unsung hero. She cares deeply about what's going on and has led with heart and empathy. She's shown her public support for the Door Foundation and hosted the October 8 documentary, again inviting non-Jewish leaders of industry, including university chancellors, to attend and understand what's going on. And along with her beautiful mum, Carol, Sarah was front row at our Sky News Anti-Semitism Summit in February. Right from the start, Sarah showed unwavering clarity and conviction, and her impact has been twofold. She's encouraged Australia's leaders and the non-Jewish community to understand what's at stake. And she's provided extraordinary, and I'm sorry to say rare, support for the Jewish community. In the virtue vacuum of the past 2 years, Sarah has been the shining exemplar of moral leadership. And for this moral leadership, she deserves our immeasurable gratitude. Can I please now ask President Porat to return to the stage, and please can everyone give the warmest possible welcome to Sarah Murdoch.
This is to witness that on the 23rd day of October 2025, Tel Aviv University bestowed the President's Award 2025 upon Sarah Murdoch in recognition of her distinguished leadership and resolute advocacy for education, health, and humanitarian causes, including over 25 years of devoted service as Global Ambassador of the Murdoch Children's Research Institute, her unwavering stand together with her husband, Lachlan, in denouncing anti-Semitism and in championing the rights of Australia's Jewish community, and indeed of other marginalized communities throughout the country, and their steadfast and principled support for and solidarity with Israel, particularly since the October 7 attacks. Professor Ariel Porat, President.
Sharri, thank you so much for those extraordinarily generous words. I'm very humbled. Thank you to Professor Ariel Porat, President, Amos Elad, Vice President of Tel Aviv University, to Andrew Silverberg, David Solomon at the Australian Friends of Tel Aviv University, and may I take this opportunity to congratulate you on 50 years. I am deeply grateful and privileged to receive this award, particularly from Israel's most prestigious and world-class university. But in truth, I feel uncomfortable receiving this award or even being thanked at all, because support for the Jewish community should be a given. It shouldn't be unusual, and certainly not something to be given an award for. About a month after the October 7th attacks in 2023, I visited Auschwitz-Birkenau with my dear friend Susie Karp. I felt I had to go. I felt compelled deeply to see it and to feel it firsthand. I saw the gas chambers and the cremation ovens where untold atrocities were committed against innocent Jewish families. I saw the horrifying reality of where anti-Semitism can lead. And of course, I saw those words, never again. But on October 7th, it did happen again. And in only a short time, a day, in fact, we were made all too aware of what was simmering underneath, not just here in Australia, but the world over. In recent days, we've seen the starved hostages in underground tunnels who looked as emaciated as skeletal Holocaust victims. The little babies murdered in their own cots on October 7th, children still in their pyjamas, no doubt crying out for their mothers, reminded me of the collection of little shoes that I saw at Auschwitz. October 7 brought with it the return of an old hatred. Now, Australia is almost as far away as you can get from the Middle East, yet as we've seen, we aren't immune. And I have felt ashamed of what we have seen in our country. We would wake up to news of arson attacks, cars set ablaze, homes vandalised, a preschool set alight just minutes from here. In Melbourne, the firebombing of the Adass synagogue, disgusting messages scrawled on public walls and buildings. Most of all, I have felt desperately sad. Sad that I have to hear from my Jewish friends what their children are experiencing in their schools. The chants on the streets, businesses doxed, anti-Semitism in all its hideous and really quite unbelievable ways. How does this happen to a community that is so beautiful? A community that is so generous, giving, welcoming, loving to Jews and non-Jews alike. I have felt nothing like it before. I am sad of how deeply traumatic this has been for the Jewish community, and my heart has been with you. But it has made us more determined. The fight is not only yours to bear. We stand with you now and always, because this hatred is unconscionable and it is un-Australian. It has been an assault on our national values, our tolerance, and our sense of a fair go. The fight against anti-Semitism isn't just one for the Jewish community. It's a crucial battleground to preserve our nation, our people, and our ethos. Lachlan and I are proud of how our media outlets have exposed and battled anti-Semitism since October 7th. Sky News, under the leadership of Chief Executive Paul Whitaker, who is here this evening, has delivered a daily dose of moral clarity. Sky News produced Josh Frydemer's documentary, which powerfully captured the unfolding crisis. Sharri, as was mentioned, you hosted the Anti-Semitism Summit in February, which I did attend with my mum. You have been a force of strength every single night. The Australian's editor-in-chief, Michelle Gunn, has put anti-Semitism at the centre of our national conversation. Through hundreds of front-page stories and editorials, The Australian has courageously championed the truth. People walk up to me to tell me, thank you. People will walk up to me to tell me that without our media outlets, there would be no true balance in this country's coverage. And they often say this to me with tears in their eyes. I find this so difficult to accept. But there is hope. And we're turning the page, and the last surviving hostages are back home in Israel. But although this is a fragile ceasefire, the war for the legitimacy of Israel and the safety for Jews is only beginning. I feel as determined as ever, but we do have a long road ahead of us. But I promise, I know I'm not alone, that together we remain strong, we remain resolute, and together we stand against all forms of anti-Semitism. Thank you.